Now we're going to talk about an environment and what makes up an environment. Basically, an environment is anywhere where things are going to be living, which on our planet there's not too many places where things aren't alive, even as small as bacteria and other microscopic organisms. Um, with environment, we're going to find or be able to talk about species, about populations, and about communities. Let's start with the species. A particular species, one type of individual organism is always a member of one species. Typically, when we look at an organism of a particular species, they look the same and they have the same type of characteristics. Probably the easiest species to look at is humans. We are all, even in our variations, we are all members of the same species. Some other examples that we're going to talk about are white-tailed deer. We have a lot of white-tailed deer here in Lethbridge in southern Alberta. They are one species. Robins, German shepherds. Although there are variations in German shepherds, there is actually a species referred to as German shepherd. That leads us to populations. When you have a group of organisms of the same species, we refer to it as a population. Probably the example that makes the most sense is, again, people. So if you look at Lethbridge, we have about 100,000 people in Lethbridge. All of these people living in one area, we call Lethbridge, makes up a population. You can also refer to talk about other organisms of the same species in similar manner. So if you look down in our coulees, you could probably identify a group of white-tailed deer that occupy our coulees here in the Lethbridge area. Those white-tailed deer would be making up a population. It's not all the white-tailed deer in Alberta, but it's a population here in and around Lethbridge. Now, when you have a bunch of different populations, because in our coulees we don't just have white-tailed deer down there. We have lots of different organisms. We have white-tailed deer. We have cotton-tailed bunnies. They're kind of cool. We have also vegetation. We have cottonwood trees, lots of different types of bushes, lots of waterfowl. So there's lots of different groups of organisms that are of the same species, and they all live together in an area. That area is referred to as a community. Community is a group of populations living together in the same environment. Okay, so that's a community. Now, here's one picture that kind of depicts what we've just talked about. We always start off with one individual, which is always of one species. When you look at that group of that one species, that makes up a population. When you put different populations together in an area, like this one here, we have a community. In this picture, we have our deer, whether that's, I think it's mule deer, but we have some deer here. We also have coniferous trees of various species. We have a birch tree. Look, there's even a little bunny. And we got grasses of some sort. So a bunch of different populations all living together in one area. That's called a community. Communities are often referred to as ecosystems, but that's a topic for another time. I have another picture just to give you another idea, another example, I should say. Again, we always start off with one individual. So this is a flower. It looks like a daisy to me. If you look in a particular area, you might be able to count a bunch of daisies. So all of those daisies in that area make up a population. Again, if we look in that area, we might have a lot of different flowers of different species. And it looks like we got a tree here as well, and a certain type of beetle. So we've got lots of different species of organisms all living in one area. That's called a community.